surface of the lake, and now he was shut in a rock under a stone, and there died. So, after this quest of Sir Gawain, Sir Tor, and King Pellinore, it fell so that Merlin fell in a dotage on the damosel that King Pellinore brought to court, and she was one of the damosels of the lake, that hight Nimue. But Merlin would let her have no rest, but always he would be with her, and ever she made Merlin good cheer, till she had learned of him all manner thing that she desired. And he was assaulted upon her, that he might not be from her. So, on a time, he told King Arthur that he shall not dure long, but for all his crafts he shall be put in the heart quick. And so he told the king many things that shall befall, but always he warned the king to keep well his sword and the scabbard, for he told him how the sword and the scabbard shall be stolen by a woman from him that he most trusted. Also he told King Arthur that he should miss him, yet I yell liefer than all your lands to have me again. Ah, said the king, since you know of your adventure, purvey for it, and put away by your crafts that misadventure. Nay, said Merlin, he will not be. So he departed from the king, and within a while the damosel of the lake departed, and Merlin went with her evermore, wheresoever she went. And oft times Merlin would have had her privately away by subtle crafts. Then she made him to swear that he should never do none enchantment upon her, if he would have his will. And so he sware. So she and Merlin went over the sea unto the lands of Benwick, whereas King Ban was king, that had great war against King Claudas. And there Merlin spake with King Ban's wife, a fair lady and a good, and her name was Elaine. And there I saw young Lancelot. There the queen made great sorrow for the mortal war that King Claudas made on her lord and on her lands. Take no heaviness, said Merlin, for this same child, within this 20 years, shall revenge you on King Claudas, that all Christendom shall speak of it. And this same child shall be the most man of worship of the world. And his first name is Galahad. That know I well, said Merlin, and since you have confirmed him Lancelot. That is truth, said the queen. His first name was Galahad. O Merlin, said the queen, shall I live to see my son, such a man of prowess? Yea, lady, on my peril you shall see it, and live many winters after. And so, soon after, the lady and Merlin departed, and by the way Merlin showed her many wonders, and came into Cornwall. And always Merlin lay about the lady to have her maidenhood, and she was ever passing weary of him, and fain would have been delivered of him, for she was afeard of him, because he was a magician's son, and she could not best gifts him by no mean. And so, on a time, it happened that Merlin showed to her in a rock, whereas was a great wonder, and wrought by enchantment, that went under a great stone. So, by her subtle working, she made Merlin to go under that stone, to let her wit of the marvels there. But she wrought so there for him that he came never out for all the craft he could do. And so she departed and left Merlin. Chapter 2. How 5 kings came into this land to war against King Arthur, and what counsel Arthur had against them. And as King Arthur rode to Camelot, and held there a great feast with mirth and joy, So soon after he returned unto Cardoil, and there came unto Arthur new tidings that the king of Denmark and the king of Ireland, that was his brother, and the king of the Vale, and the king of Selais, and the king of the Isle of Long Thanes, all these 5 kings with a great host were entered into the land of King Arthur, and burned and slew clean afore them both cities and castles, that he was pity to hear. Alas, said Arthur, yet had I never rest 1 month since I was crowned king of this land. Now shall I never rest till I meet with those kings in a fair fight that came mine awoe. For my true liege people shall not be destroyed in my default. Go with me who will, and abide who that will. Then the king let write unto King Pellinore, and prayed him in all haste to make him ready with such people as he might lightliest rear and hie him after in all haste. All the barons were privately brought that the king would depart so suddenly. Wait. So all the barons were privately brought that the king would depart so suddenly. But the king by no means would abide, but made writing unto them that were not there, and bade them hie after him, such as were not at that time in the court. Then the king came to Queen Guinevere, and said, Lady, make you ready, for you shall go with me, for I may not long miss you. You shall cause me to be the more hardy, what adventures so befall me. I will not wit my lady to be in no jeopardy. Sir, said she, I am at your commandment, and shall be ready what time so you be ready. So, on the morn, the king and the queen departed with such fellowship as they had, and came into the north, into a forest beside Humber, and there lodged them. When the word and tiding came unto the 5 kings above said, that Arthur was beside Humber in a forest, there was a knight, brother unto one of the 5 kings, that gave them this counsel. You know well that Sir Arthur had the flower of chivalry of the world with him, as it is proved by the great battle he did with the 11 kings, and therefore you unto him night and day till that we deny him, for the longer he tarrieth the bigger he is, and we ever the weaker, and he is so courageous of himself that he is come to the field with little people, and therefore let us set upon him or they, and we shall slay down. Of his knights there shall none escape. Chapter 3. How King Arthur had ado with them and overthrew them, and slew the 5 kings and made the remnant to flee. Unto this counsel these 5 kings assented, and so they passed forth with their host through North Wales, and came upon Arthur by night, and set upon his host as the king and his knights were in their pavilions. King Arthur was unarmed, and had laid him to rest with his queen Guinevere. Sir, said Sir Kay, it is no good we be unarmed. We shall have no need, said Sir Gawain and Sir Giflet, that lay in a little pavilion by the king. With that they heard a great noise, and many cried, Treason, treason! Alas, said King Arthur, we be betrayed. Unto arms, fellows, then he cried, So they were armed and on at all points. Then came there a wounded knight unto the king, and said, Sir, save yourself and my lady the queen, for our host is destroyed, and much people of ours slain. So anon the king and the queen and the three knights took their horses and rode towards Humber to pass over it, and the water was so rough that they were afraid to pass over. Now may you choose, said King Arthur, whether you will abide and take the adventure on this side, for and you be taken they will slay you. If were me liever, said the queen, to die in the water than to fall in your enemies' hands and there be slain. And as they stood so talking, Sir Kay saw the 5 kings coming on horseback by themselves alone, with their spears in their hands, even toward them. Lo, said Sir Kay, yonder be the 5 kings. Let us go to them and match them. That were folly, said Sir Gawain, for we are but 3 and they be 5. That is truth, said Sir Griflet. No force, said Sir Kay. I will undertake for 2 of them, and then may you 3 undertake for the other 3. And therewithal Sir Kay let his horse run as fast as he might, and struck one of them to the shield and the body of a phantom, that the king fell to the heart stark dead. That so Sir Gawain, and ran unto another king so hard that he smote him through the body. And therewithal King Arthur ran to another, and smote him through the body with a spear, that he fell to the heart dead. Then Sir Griflet ran unto the 4th king, and gave him such a fall that his neck brake. Anon Sir Kay ran unto the 5th king, and smote him so hard on the helm that the stroke clave the helm and the head to the heart. That was well striken, said King Arthur, and worshipfully asked you all that I promise, therefore I shall honor thee while that I live. And therewithal they set the queen in a barge into Humber. But always Queen Guinevere praised Sir Kay for his deeds, and said, What lady that you love, and she love you not, again she were greatly to blame. And among ladies, said the queen, I shall bear your noble fame, for you speak a great word, and fulfilled it worshipfully. And therewith the queen departed. Then the king and the 3 knights rode into the forest, for there they supposed to hear of them that were escaped. And there he found the most part of his people, and told them all how the 5 kings were dead. And therefore let us hold us together till it be day, and when their host have espied that their chieftains be slain, they will make such dole that they shall no more help themselves. And right so as the king said, so it was. For when they found the 5 kings dead, they made such dole that they fell from their horses. Therewithal came King Arthur but with a few people, and slew on the left hand and on the right hand, that well nigh there escaped no man, but all were slain to the number 30,000. And when the battle was all ended, the king kneeled down and thanked God meekly, and then he sent for the queen, and soon she was come, and she made great joy of the overcoming of that battle. Chapter 4. How the battle was finished or he came, and how King Arthur founded an abbey where the battle was. Therewithal came one to King Arthur and told him that King Pellinore was within 3 miles with a great host, and he said, Go unto him and let him understand how we have sped. So, within a while, King Pellinore came with a great host, and saluted the people and the king, and there was great joy made on every side. Then the king let search how much people of his party there was slain, and they were found but little past 200 men devised in the same place, whereat the battle was done a fair abbey, and endowed it with great livelihood, and let it call the abbey of La Belle Adventure. But when some of them came into their countries, whereof the 5 kings were kings, and told them how they were slain, there was made great dole, and all King Arthur's enemies, as the King of North Wales and the kings of the north. When they wist of the battle, they were passing heavy, and so the king returned into Camelot in haste. And when he was come to Camelot, he called King Pellinore unto him, and said, You understand well that we have lost 8 knights of the best of the Table Round, and by your advice we will choose 8 again of the best we may find in this court. Sir, said Pellinore, I shall consider you after my consent the best. There are in your court full noble knights, both of old and young, and therefore by mine advice you shall choose half of the old and half of the young. Which be the old? Said King Arthur. Sir, said King Pellinore, meseemeth that King Uriens that hath wedded your sister Morgan le Fay, and the King of the Lake, and Sir Ervis de Revel, a noble knight, and Sir Galagars the fourth. This is well devised, said King Arthur, and right shall it be. Now, which are the 4 young knights? Said Arthur. Sir, said Pellinore, the first is Sir Gawain, your nephew, that is as good a knight of his time as any is in this land. And the second, as meseemeth best, is Sir Griflet le Fils de Dieu, that is a good knight and full desirous in arms, and who may see him live, he shall prove a good knight. And the third, as meseemeth is well to be one of the knights of the Round Table, Sir Kay the Seneschal, for many times it makes me to laugh my Poofy. No, Poofy, no. No, Poofy. For many times he had done full worshipfully, and now at your last battle he did follow honorably for to undertake to slay 2 kings. By my head, said Arthur, he is best worth to be a knight of the Round Table, of any that you have rehearsed, and he had done no more prowess in his life days. Chapter 5. How Sir Thor was made knight of the Round Table, and how Pactemagus was displeased. I'm just waiting where they tell about the enchantress Morgan le Fay. Now, said King Pellinore, I shall put to you 2 knights, and you shall choose which is most worthy. That is Sir Pachamagus and Sir Thor, my son. But because Sir Thor is my son, I may not praise him, but else, as he were not my son, I dare say that of his age there is not in this land a better knight than he is, nor of better conditions, and loa to do any wrong, and loa to take any wrong. By my head, said Arthur, he is a passing good knight, as any you spake of this day. That wot I well, said the king, for I have seen him proved, but he said little, and he doth much more. For I know none in all this court, and he were as well born on his mother's side as he is on your side, that is like him of prowess and of might. And therefore I will have him at this time, and leave Sir Pachamagus till another time. So when they were so chosen, by the assent of all the barons, so were they found in their sieges every knight's names, then here are rehearsed. And so were they set in their sieges. Whereof Sir Pachamagus was wonderly wrought. The Sir Thor was advanced afore him, and therefore suddenly departed from the court, and took his squire with him, and rode long in a forest, till they came to a cross, and they alighted and said his prayer devoutly. The meanwhile his squire found written upon the cross that Bajamagus should never return unto the court again, till he had won a nice body of the round table, body for body. So, sir, said the squire, ye find writing of you, therefore I rate you return again to the court. That shall I never, said Bajamagus, till men speak of me great worship, and that I be worthy to be a knight of the round table. And so he rode forth, and there, by the way, he found the branch of an holy herb, that was the sign of the Sangreal, and the knight found such tokens, but he were a good liver. Wait a second. So, as Sir Bajamagus rode to see many adventures, it happened him to come to the rock whereas the Lady of the Lake had put Merlin under the stone, and there he heard him make great dole, whereof Sir Bajamagus would have holpen him, and went to the great stone, and it was so heavy that 100 men might not lift it up. When Merlin wished he was there, he bade leave his labour, for all was in vain, for he might never be holpen but by her that put him there. And so Bajamagus departed and did many adventures, and proved after a full good night, and came again to the court, and was made knight of the round table. So on the morn there fell new tidings and other adventures. Chapter 6. How King Arthur, King Uriens, and Sir Accolon of Gaul chased and hurt, and of their marvellous adventures. Then it befell that Arthur and many of his knights rode a hunting into a great forest, and it happened King Arthur, King Uriens, and Sir Accolon of Gaul followed a great hart, for the three were well horsed, and so they chased so fast that within a while they three were 10 miles from their fellowship, and at the last they chased so sore that they slew their horses underneath them. Then were they all three on foot, and ever they saw the hart afore them passing weary and ambushed. What will we do? Said King Arthur. We are hard beasted. Let us go on foot, said King Uriens, till we may meet with some lodgings. Then where they were of the hart that lay on a great water bank, and a brachet biting on his throat, and more other hounds came after. Then King Arthur blew the prize and died the hart. Then the king looked about the world, and saw afore him in a great water a little ship, all apparelled with silk down to the water, and the ship came right into them, and landed onto the sands. Then Arthur went to the bank and looked in, and saw none hardly creature therein. Sirs, said the king, come thence, and let us see what is in this ship. So they went in all three, and found it richly behanged with cloth of silk. By then it was dark night, and there suddenly were about them 100 torches set upon all the sides of the shipboards, and it gave great light. And therewithal there came out 12 fair damosels, and saluted King Arthur on their knees, and called him by his name, and said he was right welcome, and such cheer as they had he should have of the best. The king thanked them fair. Therewithal they led the king and his two fellows into a fair chamber, and there was a cloth laid, richly basin of all that longed unto a table, and they were there served of all wines and meats that they could think. Of that the king had great marvel, for he fared never better in his life as for one supper. And so, when they had supped at their leisure, King Arthur was led into a chamber, a richer passing chamber, so he never known, and so was King Urien's servant, led into such another chamber, and Sir Accolon was led into the third chamber, passing richly and well basin, and so they were laid in their beds easily, and anon they fell asleep, and slept marvellously sore all the night. And on the morrow King Uriens was in Camelot, abed in his wife's arms, Morgan le Fay. And when he woke, he had great marvel how he came there, for on the even afore he was 2 days' journey from Camelot. And when King Arthur awoke, he found himself in a dark prison, hearing about him many complaints of woeful knights. Chapter 7. To tell the truth, these adventures, I write them in a fast way. Chapter 7. How Arthur took upon him to fight, to be delivered out of prison, and also for to deliver 20 knights that were in prison. What are you that so complain? Said King Arthur. We be here 20 knights, prisoners, say they, and some of us have lain here 7 years, and some more and some less. For what cause? Said Arthur. We shall tell you, said the knights. This lord of this castle, his name is Sir Damas, and he is the falsest knight that lived, and full of treason, and a very coward as any lived. And he had a younger brother, a good knight of prowess. His name is Sir Ontzlake, and this traitor Damas, the elder brother, will give him no part of his livelihood. But as Sir Ontzlake keepeth true prowess of his hands, and so he kept from him a full fair manor and a rich. And therein Sir Ontzlake dwelt worshipfully, and is well beloved of all people. And this Sir Damas, our master, is as evil beloved, for he is without mercy, and he is a coward, and great war have been betwixt them both. But Ontzlake at ever the better, and ever he preferred Sir Damas to fight for the livelihood, body for body, but he will not do, other else to find a knight to fight for him. Unto that Sir Damas granted to find a knight, but he is so evil, beloved and hated, that there is never a knight will fight for him. And when Damas saw this, that there was never a knight will fight for him, yet daily lay in await with many knights with him, and taken all the knights in this country to see and espy their adventures, yet taken them by force and brought them to his prison. And so he took us separately as we rode on our adventures, and many good knights have died in this prison for hunger, to the number of 18 knights. And if any of us, all that here is, or had been, would have foughten with his brother on Slake, he would have delivered us. But, for because this Damas is so false and so full of treason, we will never fight for him to die for it. And we be so lean for hunger, that on it we may stand on our feet. God deliver you for his mercy, said Arthur. Anon, therewithal there came a damosel unto Arthur, and asked him, What cheer? I cannot say it. Say, said he. Sir, said she, and you will fight for my lord. You shall be delivered out of prison, and else you escape never alive. Now, said Arthur, that is hard, yet, Had I liefer to fight with the knight than to die in prison. With this, said Arthur, I may be delivered and all these prisoners. I will do the battle. Yes, said the damosel. I am ready, said Arthur, and I had horse and armor. You shall lack none, said the damosel. Messemet, damosel, I shall have seen you in the court of Arthur. Nay, said the damosel, I can never tell. I am the lord's daughter of this castle. Yet was she false, for she was one of the damosels of Morgan le Fay. Anon she went unto Sir Damas, and told him how he would do battle for him. And so he sent for Arthur. And when he came, he was well colored, and well made of his limbs, that all knights that saw him said it were a pity that such a knight should die in prison. So Sir Damas and he were agreed that he should fight for him upon this covenant, that all other knights should be delivered. And unto that was Sir Damas sworn unto Arthur, and also to do the battle to the uttermost. And with that all the 20 knights were brought out of the dark prison into the hall, and delivered, and so they well all abode to see the battle. Chapter 8. How Accolon found himself by a well, and he took upon him to do battle against Arthur. Now turn we unto Accolon of Gaul, that when he awoke, he found himself by a deep well side, within half a foot, in great peril of death. And there came out of that fountain a pipe of silver, and out of that pipe ran water all on high in a stone of marble. When Sir Accolon saw this, he blessed him and said, Jesus save my lord King Arthur, and King Uriens, for these damosels in this ship have betrayed us. They were devils and no women, and if I may escape this misadventure, I shall destroy all where I may find these false damosels that use enchantments. Right with that there came a dwarf with a great mouth and a flat nose, and saluted Sir Accolon, and said how he came from Queen Morgan le Fay, and she greeted you well, and bid you be of strong heart, for you should fight tomorrow with the night and the hour of prime, and therefore she has sent you here Excalibur, Arthur's sword, and the scapard, and she bidded you, as you love her, that you do the battle to the uttermost, without any mercy, like as you had promised her when you spoke together in privity. And what damosel that bring there, the knight said, which you shall fight with her, she will make her a queen. Now I understand you well, said Accolon. I shall hold that I have promised her now. I have the sword. When saw you my lady Queen Morgan le Fay? Right late, said the dwarf. Then Accolon took him in his arms and said, recommend me unto my lady Queen, and tell her all shall be done that I have promised her, and else I will die for it. Now I suppose, said Accolon, she have made all these crafts and enchantments for this battle. You may well believe it, said the dwarf. Right so there came a knight and a lady with 6 squires, and saluted Accolon, and prayed him for to arise, and come and rest him at his manor. And so Accolon mounted upon a white horse, and went with the knight unto a fair manor by a priory, and there yet passing good cheer. Then Sir Damas sent unto his brother Sir Ontzlake, and bade make him ready by to morn at the hour of prime, and to be in the field to fight with a good knight, for he had found a good knight that was ready to do the battle at all points. When this word came unto Sir Ontzlake, he was passing heavy, for he was wounded a little to fore through both his thighs with a spear, and make great dole. But as he was wounded, he would have taken the battle on hand. So it happened at the time, by the means of Morgan Le Fay, Accolon was with Sir Onslake lodged, and when he heard of that battle and how Onslake was wounded, he said that he would fight for him, because Morgan Le Fay has sent him Excalibur and the sheet for to fight with the knight on the morn. This was the cause Sir Accolon took the battle on hand. Then Sir Onslake was passing glad, and thanked Sir Accolon with all his heart that he would do so much for him. And therewithal Sir Onslake sent word unto his brother Sir Damas that he had a knight that for him should be ready in the fight by the hour of prime. So on the morn Sir Arthur was armed and well horsed, and asked Sir Damas, where shall we to the field? Sir, said Sir Damas, you shall hear mass. And so Arthur heard the mass, and when mass was done, there came a squire on a great horse, and asked Sir Damas if his knight were ready, for our knight is ready in the field. Then Sir Arthur mounted upon horseback, and there were all the knights and commons of that country, and so by all advices there were chosen 12 good men of the country for to wait upon the two knights. And right as Arthur was on horseback, there came a damosel from Morgan le Fay, and brought unto Sir Arthur a sword like unto Excalibur, and the scabbard, and said unto Arthur, Morgan le Fay send her here your sword for great love. And he thanked her, and weened it had been so, but she was false, for the sword and the scabbard was counterfeit, and brittle and false. Chapter 9 of the battle between King Arthur and Accolon. And then they dressed them on both parties of the field, and let their horses run so fast that either smote other in the midst of the shield with their spearheads, that both horse and man went to the hurt. And then they started up both, and pulled out their swords. The meanwhile that they were at the battle, came the damosel of the lake into the field, that put Merlin under the stone, and she came thither for love of King Arthur, for she knew how Morgan le Fay has ordained that King Arthur should have been slain that day, and therefore she came to save his life. And so they went eagerly to the battle, and gave many great strokes, but always Arthur's sword beat not like Accolon's sword, but for the most part, every stroke that Accolon gave, he wounded Sir Arthur, that he was marvelly stood, and always his blood fell from him fast. When Arthur beheld the ground so sore be bled, he was dismayed, and then he deemed reason that his word was changed, for his word beat not still, as he was wont to do. Therefore he dreaded him sore to be dead, for ever him seemed that the sword in Accolon's hand was Excalibur, for at every stroke that Accolon struck, he drew blood on Arthur. Now, knight, said Accolon unto Arthur, keep you well from me. But Arthur answered not again, and gave him such a buffet on the helm that he made him to stoop, knight falling down to the earth. Then Sir Accolon withdrew him a little, and came on with Excalibur on high, and smote Sir Arthur such a buffet that he fell nigh to the heart. Then were they wrought both, and gave each other many sore strokes. But only Sir Arthur lost so much blood that he was marvelly stood on his feet. But he was so full of knighthood that nightly he endured the pain. And Sir Accolon lost not a deal of blood, Therefore he waxed passing light, and Sir Arthur was passing feeble, and weened verily to have died. But, for all that he made a countenance as though he might endure, and held Accolon as short as he might. But Accolon was so bold because of Excalibur that he waxed passing hardy. But all men that beheld him say they saw never knight fight so well as Arthur did, considering the blood that he bled. So was all the people sorry for him, but the two brethren will not accord. Then always they fought together as fierce knights, and Sir Arthur withdrew him a little for to rest him, and Sir Accolon called him to battle and said, "It is no time for me to suffer you to rest." And therewith he came fiercely upon Arthur, and Sir Arthur was wroth for the blood that he had lost, and smote Accolon on high upon the helm, so mightily that he made him nigh to fall to the earth. And therewith Arthur's sword brast the cross, and fell in the grass among the blood, and the pommel and the sure handles he held in his hands. When Sir Arthur saw that, he was in great fear to die, but always he held up his shield, and lost no ground, nor bated no cheer. Chapter 10. How King Arthur's sword that he fought we break, and how he recovered of Accolon his own sword Excalibur, and overcame his enemy. I'm just thinking that in this story we are in the 15th century. Well, for the time maybe it was a great adventure. Anyway, it's not written really so well. I appreciate the fantasy. So then I would have liked to read the other novel of Morgan Le Fay that is being written really recently, 19, I guess, at the end, maybe 1980. I tell you the author, wait. Mists of Avalon, 1982. They talk quite all of Morgan Le Fay, but I cannot read it because I don't think that is copyright free. No, it's not. So let's go back to our medieval story. Then Sir Accolon began with words of treason, and said, "Knight, you are overcome, and mayst not endure, and also you art weaponless, and you hast not lost much of thy blood, and I am full loath to slay you, therefore yield thee to me as recreant." "Nay," said Sir Arthur, "I may not so, for I have promised to do the battle to the uttermost by the fate of my body, while me last thy life, and therefore I'll liefer to die with honor than to live with shame. And if it were possible for me to die 100 times, I'll liefer to die so oft than yield me to thee. For though I lack weapon, I shall lack no worship, and if you slay me weaponless, there shall be thy shame." "Well," said Accolon, "as for the shame, I will not spare. Now keep you from me, for you are but a dead man." And therewith Accolon gave him such a stroke that he fell nigh to the heart, and would have had Arthur to have cried in mercy. But Sir Arthur pressed unto Accolon with his shield, and gave him with the pommel in his hand such a buffet that he went 3 strides aback. When the damosel of the lake beheld Arthur, how full of prowess his body was, and the false treason that was wrought for him to have had him slain, She had great pity that so good a knight and such a man of worship should so be destroyed. And at the next stroke Sir Accolon struck him such a stroke that by the damosel's enchantment the sword Excalibur fell out of Accolon's hand to the heart. And the rewhittle Sir Arthur lightly leaped to it, and get it in his hand, and forthwithal he knew that it was his sword Excalibur, and said, "He has been from me all too long, and much damage as you done me." And therewith he espied the scabbard hanging by his side, and suddenly stared to him and pulled the scabbard from him, and threw it from him as far as he might throw it. "O knight," said Arthur, "this day has you done me great damage with this sword. Now are you come unto your death, for I shall not warrant you, but you shall as well be rewarded with this sword, or ever be departed, as you has rewarded me. For much pain have you made me to endure, and much blood have I lost." And therewith Sir Arthur rushed on him with all his might, and pulled him to the heart, and then rushed off his helm, and gave him such a buffet on the head that the blood came out at his ears, his nose, and his mouth. "Now will I slay you," said Arthur. "Slay me you may well," said Accolon, "and it please you, for you are the best knight that ever I found, and I see well that God is with you. But for I promised to do this battle," said Accolon, "to the uttermost, and never to be recreant while I lived. Therefore shall I never yield me with my mouth." Anyway, I hate when they are in a battle and they say God is with you. God is never when there is a battle. First. Anyway. Then Sir Arthur remembered him, and though he should have seen this knight. "Now tell me," said Arthur, "or I will slay you. Of what country are you, and of what court?" "Sir Knight," said Sir Accolon, "I am of the court of King Arthur, and my name is Accolon of Gaul." Then was Arthur more dismayed than he was beforehand, for then he remembered him of his sister Morgan le Fay, and of the enchantment of the ship. "O Sir Knight," said he, "I pray you, tell me who gave you this sword, and by whom you had it." Oh, now the story becomes interesting. Chapter 11. How Accolon confessed the treason of Morgan le Fay, King Arthur's sister, and how she would have done slay him. I prefer the stories where she's good. Anyway. Then Sir Accolon betrothed him, and said, "Who worth this word? For by it have I got my death." "It may well be," said the king. "Now, sir," said Accolon, "I will tell you. This word had been in my keeping the most part of this 12 month, and Morgan le Fay, King Urien's wife, sent it me yesterday by a dwarf, to this intent, that I should slay King Arthur, her brother. For you shall understand King Arthur is the man in the world that she most hated, because he is most of worship and of prowess of any of her blood. Also she loved me out of measure as paramour, and I her again. And if she might bring about to slay Arthur by her crafts, she was slay her husband, King Uriens, lightly, and then had she been devised to be king in this land, and so to reign, and she to be my queen. But that is now done," said Accolon, "for I am sure of my death." "Well," said Sir Arthur, "I feel by you would have been king in this land. It had been great damage to have destroyed your lord," said Arthur. "It is truth," said Accolon, "but now I have told you truth. Wherefore I pray you, tell me whence you are, and of what court." "O Accolon," said King Arthur, "now I will let you wit that I am King Arthur, to whom you have done great damage." When Accolon heard that, he cried aloud, "Fair, sweet lord, have mercy on me, for I knew not you." "Oh, Sir Accolon," said King Arthur, "mercy shall you have, because I feel by thy words at this time you knewest not my person, but I understand well by thy words that you hast agreed to the death of my person, and therefore you are the traitor. But I wite thee the less, for my sister Morgan Le Fay, by her false craft, made you to agree and consent to her false lust, but shall be sore avenged upon her, and I live. I have honored her and worshipped her more than all my kin, and more have I trusted her than mine own wife and all my kin after. Then Sir Arthur called the keepers of the field, and said, Sirs, come hither, for here are we 2 knights that have fought unto great damage unto a spot, and like each one of us to have slain other, if it had happened so, and had any of us no other, here had been no battle, no stroke striken. Then all aloud cried Accolon unto all the knights and men that were then there gathered together, and say to them in this manner, O lords, this noble knight that I have fought with, the which me so repented, is the most man of prowess, of manhood, and of worship in the world, for it is himself King Arthur, our alter liege lord, and with mishap and with misadventure have I done this battle with the king and lord that I am olden withal. Chapter 12. How Arthur accorded the 2 brethren and delivered the 20 knights, and how Sir Accolon died. Then all the people fell down on their knees and cried, King Arthur, mercy! Mercy shall you have, said Arthur. Here may you see what adventures befall of time of errant knights, how that I have fought with a knight of mine, own unto my great damage and his bought. But, sirs, because I am so hard and he bought, and I had great need of a little rest, you shall understand the opinion betwixt you 2 brethren. As to you, Sir Damas, for one, I have been champion and won the fight of this night. Yet will I judge because you, Sir Thomas, are called an orgulous knight, and full of villainy, and not worth of prowess your deeds. Therefore I will that you give unto your brother all the whole manor with the appurtenance, under this form, that Sir Onslake all the manor of you, and yearly to give you a palfrey to ride upon, for that will become you better to ride on that upon a course. Also I charge you, Sir Thomas, upon pain of death, that you never distress no knights errant that ride on their adventure, and also that you restore these 20 knights that you hast long kept prisoners of all their harness, that they be content for. And if any of them come to my court and complain of thee, be by my head, you shall die therefore. Also, Sir Onslake, as to you, because you are named a good knight, and full of prowess, and true and gentle in all your deeds, this shall be your charge I will give you, that in all goodly haste you come unto me and my coward, and you shall be a knight of mine, and if your deeds be thereafter, I shall so prefer you, that you shall in short time be in ease for to live, as worshipfully as your brother Sir Thomas. Thank your largeness of your goodness and of your bounty. I shall be from henceforward at all times at your commandment. For sir, said Sir Onslake, as God wold, as I was hard by late with an adventurous knight through both my ties, that grieved me sore, and else had I done this battle with you. It had been so, for then, said Arthur, it had been so, for then, and not I being hard as I am. I shall tell you the cause why. For I had not been hard as I am, had I not been mine own sword, that was stolen from me by treason. And this battle was ordained aforehand to have slain me, and so it was brought to the purpose by false treason and by false enchantment. Alas, said Sir Onslake, that is great pity that ever so noble a man as you are of your deeds and prowess, that any man or woman might find in their hearts to work any treason against you. I shall reward them, said Arthur, in short time, by the grace. Now tell me, said Arthur, how far am I from Camelot? Sir, you are 2 days' journey therefrom. I will fain be at some place of worship, said Sir Arthur, that I might rest me. Sir, said Sir Onslake, hereby is a rich abbey of your elders' foundations of nuns, but 3 miles hence. So the king took his leave of all the people, and mounted upon horseback, and Sir Accolon with him. And when they were come to the abbey, he let fetch leeches and search his wounds and Accolon's body. But Sir Accolon, died within 4 days, for he had bled so much blood that he might not live. But King Arthur was well recovered. So, when Accolon was dead, he let send him on an horse bier with 6 knights unto Camelot, and said, Bear him to my sister Morgan le Fay, and say that I send him to a present, and tell her I have my sword Excalibur and the scabbard. So they departed with the body. And now there is an interesting chapter, I guess. There is Morgan. Chapter 13. How Morgan would have slain Sir Uriens her husband, and how Sir Owain her son saved him. The meanwhile, Morgan le Fay had weened that King Arthur had been dead. So on a day she espied King Uriens lay in his bed sleeping. Then she called unto her a maiden of her council, and said, Go fetch me my lord's sword, for I saw never better time to slay him than now. O madam, said the damosel, an you slay my lord, you can never escape. Care not you, said Morgan le Fay, for now I see my time, in the which it is best to do it, and therefore you do fast and fetch me my sword. Then the damosel departed, and found Sir Owain sleeping upon a bed in another chamber. So she went unto Sir Owain, and awakened him, and bade him, Arise, and wait on my lady your mother, for she will slay the king your father sleeping in his bed, for I go to fetch his sword. Well, said Sir Owain, at the time no one was scared of prison, go on your way, and let me deal. Anon the damosel brought Morgan the sword with quaking hands, and she lightly took the sword, and pulled it out, and went boldly unto the bed's side, and awaited how and where she might slay me best. And as she lifted up the sword to smite, Sir Owain leaped unto his mother, and caught her by the hand, and said, Ah, fiend, what will you do? And you went, and you were not my mother. With this sword I shall smite off thy head. Ah, said Sir Owain, men say the Merlin was begotten of a devil, but I may say an earthly devil bare me. A fair son, Owain, have mercy upon me. I was tempted with a devil, wherefore I cry thy mercy. I will never more do so, and save my worship and discover me not. On this covenant, said Sir Owain, I will forgive it you. So you will never be about to do such deeds. Nay, son, says she, and that I make you assurance. Chapter 14. How Queen Morgan le Fay, finally, made great sorrow for the death of Accolon. It's the first time te read this one. And now she stole away the scabbard from Arthur. Then came tidings unto Morgan le Fay that Accolon was dead, and his body brought unto the charge. And now King Arthur had his sword again. But when Queen Morgan wist that Accolon was dead, she was so sorrowful that near her heart to brast. But because she would not it were known, outward she kept her countenance, and made no semblant of sorrow. But well she wist, and she abode till her brother Arthur came thither, that should cold go for her life. Then she went unto Queen Guinevere, and asked her leave to ride into the country. You may abide, said Queen Guinevere, till your brother the king come home. I may not, said Morgan le Fay, for I have such hasty tidings that I may not tarry. Well, said Guinevere, you may depart when you will. So early on the morn, or it was day, she took her horse and rode all that day and most part of the night. And on the morn by noon she came to the same abbey of nuns whereas lay King Arthur. And she knowing he was there, she asked where he was. And they answered how he had laid him in his bed to sleep, for he had had but little rest these 3 nights. Now let me guess that she will want to kill him. Well, says she, I charge you that none of you awake him till I do. And then she alighted off her horse, and thought for to steal away Excalibur his sword, and so she went straight unto his chamber. And no man durst disobey her commandment. And there she found Arthur asleep in his bed, and Excalibur in his right hand naked. When she saw that she was passing heavy, that she might not come by the sword without she had awaked him, and then she wist well she had been dead. Then she took the scabbard and went her way on horseback. When the king awoke and missed the scabbard, he was wroth, and he asked who had been there, and they said his sister, Queen Morgan, had been there, and had put the scabbard under a mantle and was gone. Alas, said Arthur, falsely you have watched me. Sir, said they all, we durst not disobey your sister's commandment. Ah, said the king, let fetch the best horse may be found, and bid Sir Onslake arm him in all haste, and take another good horse, and ride with me. So anon the king and Onslake were well armed, and rode after this lady. And so they came by a cross, and found a cowherd. And they asked the poor man if there came any lady riding that way. Sir, said this poor man, right late came a lady riding with 40 horses, and to yonder forest she rode. Then they spurred their horses and followed fast, and within a while Arthur had a sight of Morgan le Fay. Then he chased as fast as he might. When she espied him following her, she rode a greater pace through the forest, till she came to a plain, and when she saw she might not escape, she rode unto a lake thereby, and said, whatsoever come of me, my brother shall not have this scabbard. And then she let throw the scabbard in the deepest of the water, so it sank, for it was heavy of gold and precious stones. Then she rode into a valley where many great stones were, and when she saw she must be overtaken, she shaped herself, horse and man, by enchantment unto a great marble stone. Anon withal came Sir Arthur and Sir Onslake, whereas the king might know his sister and her man, and one knight from another. Ah, said the king, here may you see the vengeance, and now I am sorry that this misadventure is befallen. And then he looked for the scabbard, but it will not be found. So he returned to the abbey where he came from. So when Arthur was gone, she turned all into the likeliness, and she and they were before, and said, Sirs, now may we go where we will. I wanted to stop, but it started to be interesting. Chapter 15. How Morgan Le Fay saved the knight that should have been drowned, and how King Arthur returned home again. And we read the last two. Then said Morgan, So you Arthur, my brother? Yea, said their knights, right well, and that you should have found, and we might have steered from one's death, for by his army vestal countenance he would have caused us to have fled. I believe you, said Morgan. Anon after as she rode, she met a knight leading another knight on his horse before him, bound hand and foot, blindfold, to have thrown at him in a fountain. When she saw this knight so bound, she asked him, What will you do with that knight? Lady, said he, I will drown him. For what cause? She asked. For I found him with my wife, and she shall have the same death anon. That were pity, said Morgan le Fay. Now, what say you, knight? Is it truth that you said of you? She said to the knight that should be drowned. Nay, truly, madam, he said, not right on me. Of whence be you? Said Morgan le Fay, and of what country? I am of the court of King Arthur, and my name is Manasseh, cousin unto a column of Gaul. You say well, says she, and for the love of him you shall be delivered, and you shall have your adversary in the same case you be in. So Manasseh was loosed, and the other knight bound, and anon Manasseh unarmed him, and armed itself in his harness, and so mounted on horseback, and the knight afore him, and so threw him into the fountain and drove him. Well, she saved a man, but she killed the other. And then he rode unto Morgan again, and asked if she would anything unto King Arthur. Tell him that I rescued thee, nor not for the love of him, for the love of Accolon, and tell him I fear him not, while I can make me and them that be with me in likeness of stones, and let him wit I can do much more when I see my time. And so she departed into the country of Gore, and there was she richly received, and made her castles and towns passing strong, for always she dreaded much King Arthur. When the king had well rested him at the abbey, he rode unto Camelot, and found his queen and his barons right glad of his coming. And when they heard of his strange adventures, as is afore rehearsed, then all had marvel of the falsehood of Morgan le Fay. Many knights wished her burned. Then came Manasseh to court and told the king of his adventure. Well, said the king, she is a kind sister, I shall so be avenged on her, and I live, that every one shall speak of it. So on the morn there came a damosel from Morgan to the king, and she brought with her the richest mantle that ever was seen in the court, for it was set as full of precious stones as one might stand by another, and they were the richest stones that ever the king saw. And the damosel said, Your sister sent you this mantle, and desired that you should take this gift of her, and in what thing she hath offended you, she will amend it at your own pleasure. When the king beheld this mantle, it pleased him much, but he said but little. Now last chapter that I will read. Chapter 16. How the damosel of the lake saved King Arthur from mantle that should have burned him. Oh, so it was another trick. With that came the damosel of the lake unto the king, and said, Sir, I must speak with you in privity. Say on, said the king, what you will. Sir, said the damosel. Put not on you this mantle till you have seen more, and in no wise let it not come on you, nor on a knight of yours, till you command the bringer thereof to put it upon her. Well, said King Arthur, it shall be done as you counsel me. And then he said unto the damosel that came from his sister, Damosel, this mantle that you have brought me, I will see it upon you. Sir, she said, it will not beseem me to wear a king's garment. By my head, said Arthur, you shall wear it, or recome on my back, or any man's that here is. And so the king made it to be put upon her, and forthwithal she fell down dead, and never more spake word after, and born to quarrels. Then was the king wonderly wroth, more than he was to forehand, and said unto King Uriens, my sister, your wife, is always about to betray me, and well I wot either you, or my nephew, your son, is of counsel with her to have me destroyed. But as for you, said the king to King Uriens, I deem not greatly that you be of her concern, for Accolon confessed to me by his own mouth that she would have destroyed you as well as me. Therefore I hold you excused. But as for your son, Sir Wayne, I hold him suspect, therefore I charge you put him out of my court. So Sir Wayne was discharged, and when Sir Gawain wist that, he made him ready to go with him, and said, was banished my cousin Germain shall banish me. So the two departed, and rode into a great forest, and so they came to an abbey of monks, and they were well lodged. But when the king wist that Sir Gawain was departed from the court, there was made great sorrow among all the estates. Now, said Gaeris, Gawain's brother, we have lost two good knights for the love of one. So on the morn they heard their masses in the abbey, and so they rode forth till that they came to a great forest. Then was Sir Gawain were in a valley by a turret of 12 fair damosels, and two knights armed on great horses, and the damosels went to and fro by a tree. And then was Sir Gawain where out there hung a white shield on the tree, and ever as the damosels came by it they spit upon it, and some threw mire upon the shield. And I will stop here. And looking that there is a chapter about a dwarf. Anyway, I know the story in general, and I thought it was well written, but well, we are in medieval times, and I saw the TV series of Madeline in past, and I would like to see it again. Also, I know that in future Disney has in program to make again the movie. I don't know if the movie or a series that I'm eager in future to see. And I love from the series of Madeline Morgan Le Fay, but in here in the old story, she's not depicted really good. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this magic time, and at least you enjoyed the landscape.